Hi, I'm Eric Falconer. This is my golden hour.
Okay, we're locked and loaded, brother.
Great.
Now, as I was saying, I'm out here in California and I don't want to say stalking other men, but at at least I've been cognizant of other people's beards in this area.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, man, you got something luscious going on over there, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I work real hard at this. Uh,
Is it a quarantine beard?
no, I've had it forever. I've had a beard for God. I can't even remember the last time. Actually, during the quarantine, I shaved it off, and it
Really?
felt really strange. Yeah, felt really strange not having one. No, this has been going for a while.
Now, when you had when you were at Emerson, like as a college student, did you have one?
Uh no, I didn't. I actually didn't grow one until I moved out here. What was that, like mid 2000s? Somewhere around there, maybe like 15 years ago.
Dude, something about I mean, you can't this is like a level one beard, but something about having a
Well, that's
beard,
good.
like
It's looking
thank
good.
you, man. I appreciate it. I got the Dominicans going crazy on it like every week at the barber shop. But they something about having a beard just like makes you feel like you're like a man.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Well, hey man, I'm very familiar with everything you've done because I grew up on BMS. Like
Oh,
when
cool.
I was 15, 16 in high school, it was like the first time I had seen something on TV that I was like, that's the type of genre of something I could make. Like it's not a crossword puzzle. It doesn't seem too tough. And it's like it doesn't take itself too seriously. So as I said, I just directed my first movie and I wouldn't have done it without that. So I appreciate it, man.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, yeah, man. We made Blue Mountain State as sort of like a very straightforward show. There's not a whole lot going on behind it. We tried to make solid stories with solid characters, but really the humor is very like base and simple and straightforward. Just it was the kind of stuff that we wanted to see on TV at the time. You
I
know?
was gonna say, but that's what people want.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And it was a weird time when we first were developing Blue Mountain State. Was like because it premiered in 2010, and we were developing it during the market crash around 2008 when the housing bubble burst and everyone was losing their jobs and the economy was going to shit. And we thought networks were making shows about people being sad, like people losing their jobs. There was a show called Better Off Ted, and Canned was a different network show, and it was all about like, oh, this is the new American experience. Everyone's miserable and losing their all of their shit. And we wanted to make a show that was kind of the antithesis of that. That was just a celebration of life and college and fun. And yeah, that's sort of where Blue Mountain State came from.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, from what I understand, you did 4 years at Emerson. And I was like, where would you get the experience with like a college football team? Because that's just like I don't even know if they
Yeah,
have one. I don't think they do,
yeah.
right?
No, they don't have a college team. They don't have a football team. But no, it just came from. Well, actually, the genesis of it was that we learned that Spike TV wanted to make a college football show, and so we went in and pitched our version of it, which was like, Animal House set in Division I college football, and they bought it. Yeah, I didn't know a lot about college football. I played high school football. I paid attention to college football, but I didn't really know a lot. So it was actually we studied quite a bit about just like the D1 college football, the big time schools, the cultures over there. We talked to a lot of people, a lot of players, a lot of former players, uh, dug out a lot of stories from those kind of just interactions. But yeah, we didn't know a lot about football.
Word. Okay. Um, Peeling it back just a little bit, just for anyone who's going to be tuning into this, can you just explain who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Eric Falconer. I'm a writer. I write TV, occasionally a movie. I also am a producer. I'm from Massachusetts originally. Grew up in Watertown, went to Emerson College, and I've been out in Los Angeles almost 20 years now. I've worked on, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and the Sarah Silverman program and How I Met Your Mother. and the Mick, and I was the co-creator of Blue Mountain State.
Now, where in Watertown did you grow up?
I grew up on Union Street, off of Galen Street, near the square, near Watertown Square.
I did all of the post-production on our film off of Holt Street. Are you familiar? It's like on the backside of Waverly Square.
Oh, okay, yeah. Over by like Belmont, like that area.
Yeah, like that cemetery?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I lived there for like 5 months.
Oh, wait, yeah, I know Holt Street. I had a really good friend in high school who lived on Holt Street. We spent a lot of time on Holt Street.
I know when I'd seen Watertown, I was like, you got to be the first dude out here doing it in Hollywood from Watertown ever.
Yeah, maybe. I know Eliza Dushku is from Watertown. She was a couple years behind me in high school, the actress. And there's actually, I met a guy out here that I didn't know in Watertown, a guy named Matt Selman. He's the showrunner, one of the big writers on The Simpsons.
Wow.
He's from Watertown as well.
A lot. So I had Lee Eisenberg, the showrunner from The Office, on the podcast like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And he was just rattling off like people I wouldn't even think of who had worked on The Office from the area, like writers, directors, producers, set people. And I was like, was that calculated? He was like, no, it was just totally coincidental.
There's a lot of New England people out here. I'm working on a show right now and just had a connection with one of the writers that our family members knew each other just out of the blue from Waltham. My family's originally from Waltham. And we have a writer from Rhode Island, a writer from Connecticut, a couple of writers from Massachusetts, one from New Hampshire. There's just sort of a lot of New England people out here.
Now, were you commuting to Emerson when you were in Boston from Watertown, or did you have a dorm?
I had a dorm there. Actually, I went to Roger Williams University for a couple of years in Rhode Island. Okay. And then I transferred up to Emerson. And yeah, I lived in a dorm. I lived in a little building, and then I lived on Beacon Street for a year. Okay,
cool. What did you hate, Roger? Was it not your thing?
No, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I actually went to Roger Williams I was studying biology. I was interested in science, and I was minoring in writing. And about after my freshman year, I realized that I really liked the writing more than I liked the science. So I wanted to switch majors, but their writing program there wasn't amazing. So that's when I switched to Emerson.
I went to Providence College. So a lot of those Roger Williams kids would come up for like a couple nights and get trashed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun school. It's a beautiful place.
I know.
I love Providence, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rhode Island's like a really interesting state. And everyone says about Rhode Island, like, you can get anywhere in 20 minutes, man. You can get anywhere in 20 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so you grew up in Watertown, went to Emerson, and then do you have ideas percolating for shows at Emerson that you're like, I really have this urge to get out to Los Angeles and go produce something, or maybe I want to produce something in Boston?
No, it was always, my interest in college was playwriting. I liked like live shows. I did a lot of sketch and stand up and stuff like that. And I liked the live performance aspect. And then it was actually my writing partner, who I met at Emerson, Romansky. He moved out to Los Angeles, and we had been doing stand up and stuff together in Boston a little bit. And he convinced me to come out to LA and give it a shot. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm not really doing much in Massachusetts right now. Maybe I'll go check out LA for a little while. And my plan was to be here for 6 months. I was like, oh, I'll go check it out. I'll sleep on people's couches. I'll see how I like it. I didn't expect to like it at all. And then he and I were doing like these stand-up shows and sketch shows, and we got signed to an agency after a few months of doing that. And I realized, I was like, oh, wow, I have this opportunity now to try and write professionally, Because I think to me, writing never seemed like a tangible profession. It always felt like how do you make money as a writer? It never made sense to me, even after college. I don't think they ever taught me that in college, for the business of writing and TV production and filmmaking and all that stuff. So yeah, I came out here, we got signed, we started doing stand-up shows, and then we got involved with this sort of like production called Channel 101. way back when, and where we made sort of mini TV shows, 5-minute TV shows. That was sort of the premise. And every month, everybody would get together and watch each other's shows and vote on which ones we wanted to see more of. And those people would make more shows the next month. And it was a really cool group of people. It was Dan Harmon and Rob Schraub created it. Dan, who went on to make Rick and Morty and Community and all that stuff, and Rob, who's done a ton of stuff, Sarah Silverman program. But it was us. It was me and Romansky. It was Harmon and Schraub. It was the three Lonely Island guys, Andy, Yorm, and Keith. It was Tim and Eric. It was Chris Tallman. It was just like a great group of people. And those are the people that I sort of ended up coming up with out here. But no, it was like when I was at Emerson, it was just sort of, I was just following a passion. I didn't have my sights too much on what my future was going to be with it. I just wanted to get a degree in something I liked, I enjoyed doing,
Now to clarify, what does that mean you were signed? Like they gave you X amount of money to produce a show, or?
No, it just meant a literary agent offered to represent us. So, there are agencies out here, and basically what happens if you're a new writer, if an agent is interested in you, if an agent thinks they can make money off of you, basically, they sign you, which means they're going to represent you in all matters. And they will sort of introduce you around town to people. They'll set up meetings. If you have a script to share, they'll send it out to different productions or production companies and producers and development executives and things like that at networks. And if they like your stuff, they'll at the very least want to meet with you, get lunch with you, have you come into the office, say hello. So they sort of introduce you around, and then they put you in situations where they can get you jobs. So
now I'm assuming I apologize. I'm assuming back when you had gotten signed, it was an absolute necessity to have an agent just because it was standard in Los Angeles. But now with the advent of the internet, can't you kind of just foster some of those conversations yourself?
You can, to a degree. I think, there's agents and there's managers, and they used to be the same thing, and now they split up because I think they realize they can make more money that way. But I think it helps to have, right now I don't have an agent, but I have a manager, and it helps in terms of information out there. So if you're a professional writer or director or actor and you want to get a job, they have information on where the openings are. This show is looking for this, or this show is auditioning for this, or this show is looking for a director for this series. And they can make those introductions. They have relationships that you might not have. So that's really where the value is. They can put you in rooms that you might not have gotten into otherwise.
So
but for sure, just to answer your question, the internet and the ability to communicate in so many different ways and put yourself out there in so many different ways has opened up what having representation means,
So Channel 1 was like, for you, it was Channel 101?
101, yeah.
So Channel 101 was kind of like an incubator. Now, where was that? Was that downtown LA?
That was in Hollywood.
So what are you feeling at that time? Like, I just came from Watertown. I'm really out here just doing comedy in Hollywood. It must have been awesome.
It was just fun. I was I didn't really reflect much on it because it felt kind of like a continuation. In high school, I made videos with my friends in the AV department. I wasn't part of the AV department, but they were, and we would write stuff and sketches and film stuff all the time and share it. So it just felt like a continuation of that. It was a lot of like-minded people. And there was the thing about Channel 101 is there's no money involved. It's completely nonprofit. If you need a costume, you're making it out of newspapers or something, it's more about just fun and comedy and at the purest level. Production doesn't matter. It's about characters and stories. And it really taught me how to tell a story in 5 minutes, which is not easy to do. And so that's sort of where I learned. I actually learned more from Channel 101 than I probably did in my college classes about production.
Now, okay, so you get signed, and then you start producing and working on other people's shows, or how does the transition happen?
So it was my agent at the time introduced me to Channel 101 because he represented those guys as well. And was just like, hey, you should check out these guys, and met those guys. And we all hit it off. We started making stuff together and got together all the time. And then Dan Harmon and Rob Schraub created the Sarah Silverman program. This was in like 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. And they liked the stuff that Romansky and I were making for Channel 101. So they brought us on to the Sarah Silverman program. And that was like our first writing credit, or our first staffing job anyway. We had done an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia before that. And that was like my first thing that ever got on TV was that.
Now, you guys are staff writers, so you're just contributing ideas rapid fire to the seasoned writers on the show, right?
Sort of. The Sarah Silverman program was a really small room. There was only a few, right? There was like, I think just Harmon Schraub. There's probably like 7 writers total, 6 or 7 writers. So everybody felt an ownership in that show. It was really fun. And I was a fan of Sarah Silverman to begin with. So just working with her was really cool, and getting to write for her. But yeah, staff writing is like, yeah, you're contributing ideas, but you're also helping to break stories. You get to write some scripts, depending on the show and depending on how it's set up. So yeah, you're fully involved. It's not just like you're there to pitch jokes.
How fast does this happen for you? Like, is it almost rapid? So like making decisions to like ease into writing made sense for you at the time, or was there any sort of patience involved? Just to get on your initial shows.
No, it was a couple of years. When I first moved out here, I was sort of like, when I first moved out to California, I got a job working at a preschool, a therapeutic preschool for kids. Yeah, for real. It was kids ages 2 to 6 who had been through some kind of trauma in their life. And it was like,
oh my God.
Their teacher was a psychologist. And I was like an aide to the psychologist. So it was pretty wild. And I worked at that for like 10 or 11 months. And that's while I was doing like the live shows at night. I was doing that. And it was because in Watertown, I worked at one of the elementary schools in Watertown when I was in college to like get some extra money. I did after school programs at the school. So I had experience with kids. And yeah, so I worked at that for a little while. And then I was looking for like odd jobs and stuff. And then I was actually back and forth between LA and Watertown for probably 2 years. Like, and then when I was in Watertown, I would substitute teach occasionally at the middle school or the high school.
Just hustling
and just sort of like, yeah, figuring it out. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do entirely. I knew I liked being in LA, but I was like, again, it still felt like not a real thing to make a living as a writer. Mm-hmm. It felt so distant to me. No, so it was years. And when we first started out with Channel 101, like, you don't get paid. You're making stuff in your living room and then sharing it. You're losing money basically, because you have to, if you're buying lunch for your cast and people that help you out with the camera and lighting and stuff.
But you realized you had talent at this time, I'm assuming. Like, you realized it made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the way people responded to the stuff we were making. And it was stuff that made us laugh, more importantly. Like, we had a lot of fun doing it and liked doing it.
When you reflect, I don't mean to be super fugazi here, but when you reflect, do you believe in destiny? Are you like, wow, I'm where I should be?
No, not at all.
Really?
I don't. No. No, man. I believe it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of, there's the old saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I believe that 100%. I had opportunities come along that I was prepared for. Like when I was introduced to people and said, hey, I'd love to read your stuff. Well, I had scripts ready to go. If people said, hey, where can I see your stuff? I had videos to send them of stuff we had made. I'd put in that sort of groundwork so that when those opportunities arose for people to see my stuff and to read my stuff, I was ready to go. And Yeah, and when I got an opportunity to be in a staff room or to pitch ideas for a TV show, so like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I knew I'd put in my work on like just how writing a script works. What do you have to do? What are the components? How does it work? And I'd put in that time. So Destiny, no, I don't, because I honestly think about like I could have easily not come out here, and I don't know what I'd be doing in Massachusetts. I really don't know what I'd be doing.
That's why it's destiny, brother. Think about it.
Well, it's not like I ended up in LA. I flew out here. I actually drove out here.
But what compelled you to drive out there? Universal
forces,
man.
Maybe, yeah.
So you're working on a bunch of shows, and then you see Spike TV wants to make the football show. So why do you get the job? Like, you just had an awesome pilot for them, or?
No, we went. They were meeting with a few different people, and it was actually a producer named Brian Robbins who was working with Spike on the idea. So we went in and met with Brian, and we pitched him our ideas, our characters, a couple story ideas, like what the pilot would look like. And he liked our ideas over the other people he was meeting with. So then he set up a meeting for all of us collectively to pitch it to Spike and to Lionsgate, who's the studio. And and they bought it right away. They bought it in the room basically. And we got to write the pilot. And then it was weird because, we sold the show, they ordered a pilot, and then a writer's strike happened. And so we couldn't write it. We didn't have the deal done. We couldn't write it because the Writers Guild was on strike, which we were part of at that point. So yeah, it was very touch and go, but we ended up doing it. Yeah. But that's how it came about.
So how much did the writer's strike stall the production?
Quite a bit. I mean, the writer's strike was only for a few months, but we literally sold Blue Mountain State, and then the next week the writer's strike happened, so we couldn't write the pilot.
That would probably killed you. Like, you just sold your first show, dude, and then like, oh wait, now we can't do it.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was, it was frustrating because we hadn't signed the contract either yet. We had just sold it verbally, but we hadn't signed any contracts. The lawyers hadn't gotten involved in any of that stuff. So we didn't know if, when the writer's strike was over, if this show they would still want the show, because things are so fluid and unpredictable. You just never know. But luckily they did. The second the writer's strike ended, we were able to write the pilot and get it into them within like 2 weeks. But
dude,
then
I would have been losing my mind. It's like your big
sucked.
Moment.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
It sucked. It was real tough. But it was, and then even once we finished the pilot, it still took another like 6 months for them to commit to shooting it. We were just sitting there with the pilot script, and they liked it, and they were talking about, yeah, we're going to shoot it. But then the summer went by, and then the fall went by, and then we're in the winter. Like, are we actually shooting this thing? Like, what is going on? And eventually, finally, they were like, yeah, we're going to go up to Canada and shoot it. We ended up shooting it in Montreal in the dead of winter.
Oh, God.
The Blue Mountain State pilot. It was brutal.
And you shot the rest of the show up there too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we shot all 3 seasons up there.
Was it advantageous to shoot in Canada? Or why was it?
At first, yeah, because of money. So it was the US dollar was really strong when we first went up there versus the Canadian dollar. So you stretch your dollars farther up there. And then also Quebec had a really good tax credit, a tax rebate for productions. If you hire crew and cast out of Quebec, you get a refund off of what you pay them. So that's why it was up there. And but then when the economy started to collapse at one point, and it was like the US dollar became less valuable than the Canadian dollar, and then that became a problem where we had to slash our budget to shoot up there because it got more expensive. But that's the reason why. It was just an economic decision by the studio.
Now, do you have any say in the production? Like, they're like, all right, we're thinking about shooting in Canada. What do you think about that? Or they're like, all right, no, you guys are going to go to Canada to go shoot this thing.
Yeah, we don't really have a say in where it gets shot.
Okay,
We
I understand.
can say, we can tell them our preferences, but we really don't get a say in that. They're like, no, production's gonna start at this date in Montreal. Yeah, the studio decides all that stuff, production.
Got it. Now, at what point did you develop Thad? And how did you develop him?
That was early on. That was just sort of like when we were first thinking of like the show. And he was like a mixture of all those villains that I loved from those 80s movies, like Johnny Lawrence in The Karate Kid and Roy Stalin from Better Off Dead. Just like the blonde douchebag villain that everybody hates. And then when we cast Alan Ritchson in the role, he brought it to just like another level where he was like goofy and just sort of like, it was like almost like a psychopath element to him that we
hilarious.
Didn't. And yeah, he brought so much out of that character. But yeah, that was the idea. Is we just wanted a classic villain, in the show.
What's so crazy is for years and years, I've been calling people bro beans. And I had no idea where it came from. And then I was rewatching stuff and I was like, oh shit, it was Thad who said it. Like I called my friend Bro Beans yesterday. I'm not even joking. Like, what's up, Bro Beans? How are you, bro?
It's contagious, right? We wrote it as like as a joke thing that like Thad would say, but then we found ourselves saying it all the time. Yeah.
It is hilarious. And is it rewarding for you seeing his career like blow up now? He's like the biggest actor ever.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I'll tell you, like the whole cast for Blue Mountain State, we all really have supported each other for, since then. We have worked so closely with Alan and Darren Brooks, who played Alex, and of course Romansky played Sammy. Like we all like have rooted for each other in big ways. So to see Alan have this kind of success, I kind of knew it was going to happen. He's so talented and
tall, handsome
guy. And he beyond all, he works harder than anybody else I know at what he does. Like he is a truly committed guy. So yes, I'm so happy to see him get this Reacher job.
Yeah, well, everything started for me is when I was in college. I started making YouTube sketches, and I just hustled, learned how to edit myself, just started making stuff, and then I made a film, and then I left, started the podcast, made a movie. But I would have never started making YouTube videos initially if there was no Jimmy Tatro. So when I saw him in the movie, I was fucking pumped. I thought he was hilarious.
Yeah, that dude's amazing. Yeah, I was happy he agreed to do the movie because I had met him through other producers that had sort of put us together because of the stuff that he was making. Everyone thought it lined up with Blue Mountain State, so we had been introduced by other people and had developed a couple things before, and then so when we ended up doing the Kickstarter movie, we brought him on, and he was nice enough to do it for us.
Yeah, it made sense. He started out doing a lot of frat videos and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. He's just like one of those guys that's just naturally funny.
I know his Simi Valley show is hilarious. Have you seen Simi Valley?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
I actually met some dudes from Simi Valley like 3 days ago, and they were like,
oh, really?
I met them at a party, and they were like, we work at our uncle's body shop, and I was like dying. I was like, this is ridiculous. So the show's successful. Now, why did it get yanked?
Blue Mountain State?
Yeah, off Spike.
We never got a straight answer on that. It was really strange. We did the 3 seasons. The ratings were ascending. We were gaining audience every season, and I think it just came down to an economic sort of battle between Lionsgate and Spike. I think it really came down to like just money and not a lot of money, because originally what we had heard was that we were getting picked up for seasons 4 and 5. I was like, great, that's great. When can we start writing? And they were like, well, we're just trying to like iron things out. And then time passed, and I was like, if we're writing 2 seasons, we need a lot of time to do that, because they wanted to shoot 4 and 5 together over one summer. And then they came back and said, okay, well, sorry we're taking so long with all the money stuff, the budget stuff. We're just going to do a season 4. And then we'll figure out 5 down the road. And it's like, great, when can we start? And then another couple months passed. And I was waiting for the official announcement. And then I got a call that they were just pulling the plug. Oh. And I think it was when Lionsgate and Spike were trying to figure out their budget. They couldn't come to terms, basically, is what I think happened.
Now, I'm sure the show has a cult following now, but at the time, at the end of the 3rd season, were you gaining like a really loyal audience?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. It was always tough to tell, because it was on Spike TV late at night, and then it was on Netflix right after that. So Netflix doesn't release numbers. So the only numbers we really had to go on were the Nielsen ratings for Spike TV at like 11 o'clock on Tuesday nights or whatever it was on. But even just by those Nielsen ratings, those live viewers, like we could tell that there was a real audience there, I think it was at the end of season 2 when we did the Riot episode, which was like our finale for season 2, and our ratings like shot up like almost by a third. And that's when we realized, like people are tuning in. They wanted to see this finale. Like people are invested in the series, So yeah, we could tell.
So as soon as they yanked the show, you're like, well, I know people like this. So the way I was going to ask that question was going to be brain dead. Let me rephrase it so I sound a little more professional. That you have an audience. So you say, okay, a movie makes sense down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always an idea.
It was always an idea. I mean, we had hoped that the series was going to get picked up again, because it felt strange the way it ended. And we knew that it was a show that was gaining an audience. And so we talked initially about a movie. We're like, what if we just did a movie and sort of, see how that goes? Lionsgate had said they're not interested in a movie. They'd run their numbers. They didn't think it was worth to do a movie. And I don't know, there's kind of a long answer to how the movie came about. Do you want to hear it, or do you want the short version?
I know you got like $2 million crowdfunding, right?
We did, yeah. I mean, what happened was Alan Ritson and Ed Marinero, who played Coach Daniels, they went to Lionsgate and basically were like, if you're not going to make a movie, give us the rights and we'll go make a movie. And at first Lionsgate was super reluctant, but to their credit, they just hammered them and hammered them and hammered them. And finally Lionsgate was like, fine, stop bothering us. Here, if you want the rights to go make a Blue Mountain State movie, have at it. We don't care. And signed over the rights to them. And then through another long process, there was, talks with producers and financiers and all of this stuff, but it never felt right. And I could write a whole book about that period of our lives, but eventually we decided we were going to try to crowdfund. Yeah. And so we started a Kickstarter. We raised about $1 million, just shy of, what did we raise? Shy of $2 million? I think just shy of $2 million. And then off of that, we were able to get financing from other people, and we were able to make the movie. Yeah.
So you had a few private investors on top of the $2 million.
We did. We had, well, that's a whole other thing. Like we had an investor that was going to match our money, and then they backed out at the last second. We had a falling out with them. And so Lionsgate came in to buy the distribution rights from us. They were basically had to buy back the rights that they had given to us now that we had raised all this money, which felt pretty good. So they bought the distribution rights to the movie, and then we used that money to finish the movie. Is basically how we ended up funding it.
Wow. You got it done though.
We got it done. It was tricky, because people don't realize the show was an expensive show for basic cable. It was, I think it showed up on the screen. It looked great. And the production, the people we had and the production side of things were serious pros. So to make a movie, the money that we had to make the movie was about what it would cost to make 2 episodes of the show. And, so if you look at it that way, each episode is about 22 minutes. So for 44 minutes, we would, the budget would be the same that we had to make a 90-minute movie. So we had to figure that out. Like, how are we going to make a feature-length Blue Mountain State for this money? And so we ended up having to sacrifice a lot of the stuff we wanted to do. We wanted to show bigger football games, but that stuff was so expensive to shoot that we ended up cutting it and just sort of made it a party movie.
Where did you shoot it? Was it South Carolina?
Ended up being North Carolina. We flew down to South Carolina, and then the state would not approve the movie because of the content. Because they have
it's a religious state.
They have a tax credit there, and they were just like, nope. And we sent them a version that was more like PG-13, and they were like, still like, nope, you can't shoot it here, or you can shoot it here, but we're not giving you money. So we just moved up the road to North Carolina, and they were fine with whatever.
Now, do you think the show would be greenlit today?
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not. No shot.
Absolutely not. No, not at all. No, I think it's no. There's no other way to say it.
No way, dude.
There's no way.
That's awesome. You got it in the golden era of TV when people weren't as sensitive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, it wasn't. Yeah. There's no way they would make this show today.
Who was the Harmon character based off of? That was like one of my favorite episodes. Is it the Drug Olympics when he has like all the drugs out?
Yes. Yeah, Harmon was like, God, who did we? Janikowski, that kicker who used to kick for the Raiders. We sort of like, he was our prototype for that character originally. Just sort of like a mess of a human being that happened to have this gift for kicking a football, And then it was actually Rob Ramsey who played Donnie. He auditioned for the Harmon part initially, and we felt like he wasn't quite right for the part, but we loved him, so we created the character of Donnie for him, specifically for that actor. And then we found James Cade, who's a small guy, doesn't read necessarily in real life as a football player, but it's such a weird character that we thought he would be perfect for it. And so nice. we cast him. Yeah. That was the idea, is just a degenerate. I love the idea of a degenerate in like a D1 big time program, Yeah,
I mean, there's millions of those out there right now. Like
there's a lot.
And I'm watching the NCAA tournament. I'm like, there's no way after these guys got their tournament bid, they weren't like calling up shorties and partying.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So what does the next couple of months to years look like for you? Got any projects coming up you're working on?
Yeah, I just started on a new project here actually now. I'm in the offices now for that. It's not going to come out for about a year, but Romansky, my ex-writing partner, created a show that just got greenlit by TBS called Kill the Orange-Faced Bear. And we just started writing that like 8 weeks ago. So it's me and him, and we have the writing staff here, and we're going to shoot that in Vancouver this spring. Nice. And it's half live action and half CGI. So that's why it's going to take forever. We're going to have the live action shot out by July, but the animation, the CGI and stuff is going to take around 9 months after that. So it's not going to premiere till probably March Madness of 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the basis for the show?
It's a comedy, but it's about a guy who's who's out on a camping trip with his fiance, his girlfriend. He proposes to her, and she gets attacked and eaten by a bear. And then this guy goes on this mission to find and kill this bear that ate his fiance. It's about a guy who's obsessed, almost like Moby Dick, but in the woods. But the animation comes in where, there's also the bears are animated. And so you see things from their perspective, and they have their whole clan in the woods trying to figure out how to navigate the situation too.
Now you had whose concept was this? Was it yours?
No, this was Romansky's. Romansky created the idea, sold it to TBS. It was a long road over like 4 years. It took him to get this greenlit. And then it got greenlit and he brought me on. So I just started on this in January.
Nice. Now, in terms of you working with Romansky, do you guys normally split producing duties in terms of communicating with the studios, or do you have a strong suit in most of the creative stuff and he does a lot of the selling?
We work in tandem when we work together. It's like, do you mean as far as like pitching stuff, or once we're in production? In pitching stuff, no, we would, when we're pitching together, we pitch together. Like, we develop a pitch, exactly what we're going to say, how we want to approach the pitch, and then we sit in the room together and pitch it out.
Okay, cool. Noted.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, I had a blast.
Yeah, man. Thanks. It was nice meeting you.
All right, man. So this is how we start in the episodes. You got to say hi. I'm going to say this once, Eric. Okay.
Okay.
You got to say hi, your name, and this is my golden hour. Directly after, no break in between the two sentences. Hi, your name, and that was my golden hour.
Okay. Let's say, hi, I'm Eric Falconer, and this is my golden hour. Hi, I'm Eric Falconer, and this was my golden hour.
You blew it. Absolutely blew it. That's
shit.
No, it's this is that was.
That was. Okay.
I'll be honest, dude. I've run this with like politicians, athletes. Everyone fucks it up.
All right. I can just go whenever.
Do your thing, man.
Hi, I'm Eric Falconer. This is my golden hour. Hi, I'm Eric Falconer. That was my golden hour.
Well executed, brethren.
Thanks, man. I used to act, that's why.
You're a thespian.
I am.
All right, man. Hey, thank you so much. I'll send you a follow-up email, I'll get your address, and I'll shoot you a clip from our movie.
For sure, man. I would love to see it.
All right, dude. Thank you so much. And thank you for making great stuff.
No problem, man. Nice meeting you. Have a good day.
All right, brother. Talk to you.
Okay, bye.